Micheline.
All right, so good morning, afternoon, evening, from wherever you may be joining us today. My name's Amy Lesperance. I've been in contact with, I think, many of you over email over the past couple weeks, so it's nice to see some faces on the screen here. I'm the events coordinator for SERC-GC, and I'll also be your MC for this evening. So on behalf of the entire team at the Soka Education Research Centre on Global Citizenship at the University of Guelph-Humber, I would like to welcome you all and sincerely thank you for your interest in our 4th annual special lecture. So before we begin today, I would ask that you please leave your microphones off unless you have a question during the Q&A following Dr. Tomioka's lecture. So now I would like to hand things over to Dr. Paul Sherman to share a bit of background information on SERC-GC. So thank you all.
Thank you, Amy, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are so pleased to welcome Dr. Hiroko Tomioka to conduct our special lecture this year. Before we hear from her, I would like to make a few remarks about the Soka Education Research Centre on Global Citizenship at the University of Guelph-Humber, or SERC-GC, as well as the significance of having our special annual lecture on this day, November 18th, and to also speak briefly about Japanese educator Tsunesaburo Makiguchi, the founder of Soka Education, and in whose name SERC-GC receives funding support. I will close with a special announcement of an upcoming SERC-GC activity. The mission of SERC-GC is to provide selected University of Guelph-Humber undergraduate students and faculty an opportunity to participate in scholarly activity that contributes to local and international discourse on research into Soka education and its practical application for educational and community settings. 91 years ago today, 59-year-old Tsunesaburo Makiguchi and his young protege, Jose Toda, published the first writings that outlined the system of Soka. The word Soka was coined by Makiguchi and Toda and is a combination of the Chinese characters meaning create and value. Thereafter, the Soka Kyoiku Gakai, in English, the Society for Value Creating Education, was formed and grew to a group of about 500 educators by the start of the Second World War. Makiguchi was an unpopular educational reformer with the Japanese government at the time. He strongly believed that the principal aim of education was to help each student reveal their potential to create value in life and to become happy. He once wrote, quote, "Other than happiness, there is no word that fully and accurately expresses the unhindered pursuit that is the objective of education. I have come to believe this word gives the most realistic, straightforward, and apt expression to the goal of life desired and sought by all people." Unquote. This rather contrarian view did not go unnoticed by Japan's militaristic authorities. Promoting education for the happiness of students, rather than as a vehicle for their subservience to the emperor, was not a favorable position for Makiguchi and Toda to promote. Subsequently, in July 1942, they were both arrested and imprisoned as thought criminals. Makiguchi died in prison at the age of 73, coincidentally on November 18th, 1944. Toda was released from prison when the war ended, and he reestablished the Soka Gakkai. His protege and successor, Daisaku Ikeda, founded the Soka education system with its aim to foster global citizens who could meaningfully contribute to society and to help strengthen the foundations of peace. To date, there are schools in 7 countries that infuse their curriculum with value-creating pedagogy based on the shared vision and principles of Makiguchi, Toda, and Ikeda. So November 18th is a very special anniversary for enthusiasts of Soka education from all around the world, many of whom have joined us for today's lecture. I want to thank everyone for taking your precious time to attend this event and to learn from our very special guest, Dr. Tomioka. Lastly, I am very pleased to announce an exciting new initiative for SERC-GC. On April 8th and 9th, 2022, we will be hosting the first SERC-GC virtual symposium with its theme, Operationalizing Value-Creating Education for Global Citizenship Across International Milieus. The objective of the symposium is to provide an international forum for shared recent research, pedagogy, andragogy, and practical applications related to how value-creating education manifests in educational and community environments, with an emphasis on, but not limited to, global citizenship. Attendance at the symposium will be by invitation to individuals involved with research, teaching, or application of Soka education. If you're interested in making an academic contribution to the symposium, please contact us at the email address that Amy is putting in the chat box. We are very much looking forward to this event. With that, I will close my remarks and hand it back to Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sherman. I'm going to pass things over to Bobby Gandhi, Research Assistant with SERC-GC, to introduce Dr. Tomioka for her special lecture. Thanks, Bobby.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Hiroko Tomioka is a professor of the Faculty of Education of Soka University in Tokyo, Japan. She has also been a member of Ikeda Research Institute for Soka Education from 2006 to present. Dr. Tomioka earned her Bachelor of Arts in Education from Soka University and her Master of Arts in Education and Doctor of Philosophy in Education from the University of California, Los Angeles. She has been a lecturer of the Soka Education Research Institute, a visiting scholar of the Graduate School of Education and Information Studies of UCLA, a research fellow of the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, an adjunct lecturer of Soka Women's College, and of the Soka University Division of Corresponding Education, and a research collaborator at the National Institute for Educational Policy Research. Dr. Tomioka has authored or co-authored over 30 publications on various facets of education, psychology, personality, and more, and has made over 40 solo or joint conference presentations in Japan, in Asia, in the USA, and in Europe. She also has 6 research projects in progress. Today, Dr. Tomioka will be discussing an overview of Soka education from Makiguchi's Pedagogy. We are thankful for her willingness to share her knowledge with us today. The Soka Education Research Centre on Global Citizenship is delighted to welcome Dr. Hiroko Tomioka.
Okay, thank you very much for introducing me, and good evening to all of you. And I'm Hiroko Tomioka from Faculty of Education and Soka University in Japan. And first of all, I would like to show my great appreciation to the University of Guelph-Humber, this program, Soka Education Research Centre on Global Citizenship, and Dr. Paul Sherman, and Ms. Olivia Wilkins, and also Ms. Amy Respirance for inviting me as a lecturer today. And so today, November 18th, is a very memorial day for Soka Gakkai and SGI. Now, Japan is the November 19th morning time, but I'm really happy to celebrate this Memorial Founding Day with all of you. Thank you. And I'm so happy and honored to be here today. And then actually last week, I got an email from Dr. Paul Sherman that this special lecture will have around more than 100 people from 11 different countries are going to just attend this lecture. So when I heard it, I was feeling like, wow, I got to be a little bit nervous about that, but I think it is very challenging work for me. And it is a very wonderful opportunity for me to expand my research vision and get to know other researchers and scholars who are interested in Soka education. And because the area of Soka education and Dr. Ikeda's philosophy is a kind of a new research field, and it is still progress day by day and little by little. So I hope to contribute this research field and new future scholars. And talking about my background, and as dear and Daddy introduced before, and I am alumni of Soka University and Soka Gakuen from elementary school. Since 2006, I have been a faculty member of Ikeda Research Institute for Soka Education for 16 years. And I had a lot of opportunities to attend the conferences and symposiums regarding Soka education and the philosophy of Ikeda research. So today, I would like to focus on Makiguchi's pedagogy. So can I share the PowerPoint slide?
Yeah, go ahead, Hiroko.
Okay, let me see. All right, can you see the slide?
Yep, we can see it.
Yes, okay, I'm going to just start the slideshow here. Okay, my lecture title is still on the Overview of Soka Education from Makiguchi's Pedagogy. So in today's lecture, I would like to talk about mainly 3 points. The first one is about what the Soka education is. I will refer to Tsunesaburo Makiguchi, the father of Soka education, and his thought in terms of purpose of education and the definition of happiness. Also, Makiguchi's theory of value will be discussed. The second agenda is about the Tsunesaburo Makiguchi's pedagogy and its unique characteristics. I will refer to his view of human beings, such as child and teacher, and how to understand value creation. Also, I will show several educational curriculums which Makiguchi developed. For example, like a half-day school system and local community studies, which is Kyodoka, and also collaboration with parents and community. Here's some 12 characteristics of Makiguchi's pedagogy, and which the Dr. Watanabe's book titled Soka Education and Humanism. This book is published in this year. According to him, there are 12 characteristics in Makiguchi's pedagogy. For example, the spirit of human value creation, number 3, and spirit of life dignity, number 5, and education for global citizenship, number 6. I will explain one by one and how they are unique in terms of its historical context. The last three are the third agenda. I would like to talk about John Dewey and Makiguchi, how they are looking at the society, school, children, teacher, and the purpose of education will be discussed. Okay, the first agenda is about what is Soka education. Soka education was founded by Japanese educator and philosopher Tsunesaburo Makiguchi, 1891 to 1944, who developed humanistic education based on value creating philosophy during 1930 to 1930s. Makiguchi was a reformist educator, geographer, and the first president of the Soka Gakkai. According to his theory, the purpose of education is to facilitate lifetime happiness and fulfillment for the learner. The ability to create value is synonymous with happiness. Makiguchi's work was nurtured and expanded by Josei Toda and his successor, Daisaku Ikeda. Makiguchi coined the term Soka by abbreviating the Japanese phrase kachisozo, which is meaning value creation. According to Makiguchi, value creation is the capacity to find meaning, to enhance one's own existence, and contribute to the well-being of others under any circumstance. And this capacity of value creation is what Ikeda and Makiguchi mean by happiness. The definition of happiness. Happiness was, for Makiguchi, is the very purpose of education and the very purpose of life. All his ideas about education centered on this belief. Happiness comes from the ability to create value for the benefit for the self, as well as the benefit of the others. Happiness is not a point or destination, but it is a process. It is a journey, like the journey of creating value. The aim of education. So let me quote from Makiguchi's writing titled The System of Value Creating Pedagogy, which is Soka Kyoikugak Taike in Japanese. He said that the purpose of education is to facilitate a lifetime of happiness and fulfillment for the learner. That is, the goal of education is to make children happy, not for the enhancement of military strength. So taking into account historical background of 1930s, which is the publishing year of the system of value creating pedagogy, it was between World War I and World War II. Makiguchi's perspective might be kind of different from other educators and authority because he respects the children's own life and happiness, which is human-centered and people-centered. That is education for children, not education for nation or education for wealth and military strength, which is Fukoku Kyohei in Japanese. So the next slide. How can we attain happiness? So then how can we attain happiness, and what do we have to do to reach a state of happiness? The Makiguchi's answers to this question is by creating value. To achieve happiness, we must create value. Everyone alive on this earth must work to create value with the aim of achieving happiness. This was the idea forming the basis of the pedagogy of Tsunisaburo Makiguchi. From this idea of value creation as the precondition for happiness in life, Makiguchi declared that the purpose of education was for living life and defined value creating pedagogy as a knowledge system for teaching people to create the value that is the goal of life. The next theory of value creating. Then, how can we create value? And what kind of value is meaningful and significant for human being? Regarding the value creation, Makiguchi defined 3 kinds of value, which is gain, good, and beauty. First one is economic and personal benefit for gain, so which is related to individual value. And the second one is moral good, and which is related to social value. And the last one is aesthetic and artistic beauty, which is also related to sensory value. In addition, and Makiguchi insists that we need to make appropriate cognition of objective truth. Creation value is based on the cognition of objective truth through direct observation and understanding and evaluation engagement. The theory of value creating at the root of the Makiguchi's humanism was a belief in the dignity of life and a belief at one with that of love for humanity. This belief is apparent in Makiguchi's views on the definition of value. Makiguchi did not see value in terms of absolute standards, but as something generated within a relationship between subject and object. This subject is, needless to say, is a living being. Makiguchi described his definition of value as follows. Value cannot exist on any other basis than that of the concept of its relationships to life. That is why Makiguchi did not regard truth as one of the essential values, because truth is existing independently and objective, not related to one's own interest, such as like useful and helpful. The value is born of its relationship with life. So next is about humanistic education and ningen kyoiku in Japanese. So let us move on to Dr. Ikeda's thought on education. Soka, value creating education, takes the human being as the most important element, and it respects the life of dignity and the fulfillment of humanity in each individual. Furthermore, Soka education aims raising self-reliant person who can create value and can contribute to society. Soka University had three founding spirits as follows: be the highest seat of learning for humanistic education, be the cradle of a new culture, be a fortress of the peace of humankind. The first one, humanistic education, is translated ningen kyoiku. Ikeda refers to humanistic education as follows: education is not simply the transmission of knowledge. It is not simply the development of talent. Education is a great enterprise of steadily and surely passing on the fullness of humanity. Education is a process of becoming fully human. He says that the human being is a point to which we must return and from which we must depart anew. In addition, Ikeda emphasizes the importance of trust between teacher and student, and he said that the teacher's depth of character is crucial in education. He emphasized the interaction between teacher and student. In Dr. Ikeda's lecture titled Thoughts on Education for Global Citizenship in Columbia University Teachers College in 1996, he highlighted that the teacher is the most important element of the educational environment. This credo Makiguchi is the unchanging spirit of Soka education. Society for Education and Peace. I think one of the most unique characteristics of Ikeda's educational thought is in his very strong peace orientation. It is similar to Makiguchi and Josei Toda. Ikeda emphasizes the importance of education and education in society, and he proposed the new paradigms of society for education, not education for society. In addition, he maintains that world peace will be constructed by making the good society that enables to conduct good education, because the education is the only way to become truly human and the only way to change the society. Therefore, Dr. Ikeda gave the highest possible priority to work of education. So the next slide is kind of the aim of Soka education and the related research field. Now, I would like to share several research areas and topics which can be discussed in Soka education. We can see the future research might be interested in the focus like this: value creation and the global citizenship and the human rights and peace education and dialogue and deductive reasoning and fostering both knowledge and wisdom and social self-actualization and meaningful and contributing living. Research about Soka education and Ikeda's thought. This research field is not examined and explored very well right now because this area is kind of new as an academic field. So I hope that future researchers might want to explore these focuses and its relation to Soka education in the future. Thank you. Okay, that's about the end of my first agenda. From the next slide, I would like to talk about my second agenda and characteristic of Makiguchi's pedagogy. Educational philosophy. Before moving on to the Makiguchi's pedagogy, we need to make sure one thing, and that is, in order to develop the educational thought, we need to have consistent ideas of views of human being. That is the starting point of educational thought. How to understand child and how to understand education and how to understand the role of teachers are very important, because if we have ambiguous ideas about them, we will be lost. Such as like, if we are going to climb some mountains, if we don't know well about the characteristics of the mountains and the route to the top, we cannot achieve the goal. The views of human beings. So let me see how Makiguchi is looking at human being. Basically, he thinks that child as a being who wants to become a good value creator. And he thinks that teachers should be open-minded and believing each child, and they need to show their growth and their growth by creating value and cradle up to each child. So they are not passive being, more like active being, and things who are trying to getting better. So regarding two aspects of human being from Makiguchi, regarding Makiguchi's views about human being, he looked at the human being in two aspects. The first aspect is human as value creator, which is like they're independent and individual being. The second aspect is human as social citizen. So from which means that those who make efforts to coexistence and prosperity. From this expression, we can see that Makiguchi emphasized not only individual dimension, but also social dimension of human life. So children and teachers, so let us take a look at this figure. And I made up it in order to understand the Makiguchi's views of children and teacher. From this figure, we can see that children are those who wanted to be good and those who wanted to grow up, those who wanted to create value. And the other hand, the teacher should show their self-growing model to a student, and they should cradle up to children, and also they should support children with compassion. And the education for nation. So let me talk about the kind of historical background during Makiguchi's period. I would like to refer to one famous politician in 19th century in Japan. And Arinori Mori was appointed Japan's first minister of education in December 1885. He believed that education formed the basis of wealth and power of the nation, and by extension, that establishment and maintenance of schools served the state. Mori asserted that administrators must not lose sight of the fact that education is provided not only for the benefit of the student, but also for the benefit of the states. Mori also proposed that under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of War, Military, and Charismatics, he be included as part of the curriculum in middle school and higher in order to instill a patriotic spirit in young people. He fostered education for nations and national development. In this way, education and school are just device or institution producing children, like forming the mold which is beneficial to the nation. Children are just products for country. But the Soka education is the opposite standpoint. Makiguchi focused on human being, children, and life dignity, not nation and politics. Also, he respects their autonomy. Education for human beings. So I was trying to just make this figure in order to just compare like an education for nation and Soka education. So we can see the difference between education for nation and Soka education. Education for nation is like a children as produced by nation, and education for national development. But the Soka education and the children as the value creator, and education for human beings. So that's the big difference between them. And the next slide is about like the Makiguchi's unique school curriculum, the half-day school system, which is called Hannichi Gakkou Seido in Japanese. So now I would like to introduce the half-day school system. Makiguchi developed this system. In the system, children study at school in all morning. So that's called first half. And then they're gonna spend the second half of the day helping in the home or engaging in productive activities for the local community. They can have opportunity to learn academic subject and the productive activity both. The Makiguchi attempt to link school education directly to a productive activity, and he insisted it was beneficial to the lives of students and to society. He believed people needed to continue learning throughout their lives. This idea will be connected to the lifelong education. Makiguchi insisted the necessity of lifelong education in 1930s. So it is kind of before UNESCO's first international conference on adult education in 1949. Makiguchi developed and advocated a half-day school system. So he believed people needed to continue learning throughout their lives in a way that's related to the conduct of everyday life. And the next slide is about the local community studies, which is Kyodoka in Japanese. And now let us look at the relationship between nature and daily lives. Makiguchi stressed that rural community studies as a means of strengthening these linkages. It proposed a fundamental reform of the elementary school curriculum, stressing that daily life and experience should be the basis for all study. Makiguchi frequently uses the word kyodo, and which is alternately translated as local community or homeland in his book. Starting with chapter 2, the title is Local Community as a Basis for Observation and Understanding. As Makiguchi writes in this chapter, what is one's community or hometown? Its scope will vary depending on vantage point of the observer. He clearly recognized that what we consider our community, the human identity attached to place, will expand with the process of individual growth. The concept for him is that inherently diverse and multi-layered. So here is the Makiguchi's teaching method, and the example is the essay writing about river. Now let us look at the actual Makiguchi's teaching method. I would like to talk about essay writing, and the basic principle on Makiguchi is like from simple to complex and from far from near. There are 3 steps here. The first steps is the teacher shows a model to student, like the Makiguchi writes essay titled Shinkawa, Shin River, and showed to student. Shinkawa is kind of very local and a short river. And the second step, the teacher and the students write essay together. So the Makiguchi asked students to write essay about Sosei Kawa. He helped them. The Sosei Kawa is a little bit bigger and longer than the Shinkawa. And the last and the third step is the student write essay by themselves independently. The student writes essay about Toyohirakawa independently. Toyohirakawa is the longest river and the longest river in the Hokkaido area. So that's the very step-by-step process of learning. So next is about the collaboration with parents. And Makiguchi encouraged participation of parents in education. He attempts to establish a right of school autonomy, preventing under control from outside by political or administrative authorities. Because in this historical period, the school political and administrative authorities and power is very strong. But Makiguchi just wanted to establish the school autonomy in his school. Makiguchi was of the view that parents should have a voice in their children's education, and that a mother's participation in school education was part of her household management. So Makiguchi wanted to share the common purpose and the common purpose of children's happiness with their parents. So here is the 12 characteristics of Makiguchi's pedagogy, and which the doctor and which is Dr. Watanabe was proposed. Number one, the spirit of anti-nationalism, which is the which I already talked before, like the not education for nation. Number two is a criticism of symptomatic treatment reform. So Makiguchi wanted to just more like fundamental reform. And number three, spirit of human value creation, which is like Kachisozo. Number four, spirit for children's happiness, which is like a purpose of education. Number five, spirit of life dignity, which is Makiguchi's most emphasized. Number six, education for global citizenship. And number seven, spirit of wisdom. And number eight, spirit of compassion. Number nine, unification of living and learning, which is related to like the kind of half-day school system. And number 10, the spirit of solidarity. Number 11, teacher at the most educational environment, which is related to like Columbia lecture. And also 12 is open dialogue, maybe open dialogue between the teacher and student. So that's the kind of unique characteristics of Makiguchi's pedagogy. So that's the my second agenda about the Makiguchi's characteristics. And let us go on to the third agenda about the Makiguchi and John Dewey. Okay. Now, let us think about the similarities between Makiguchi and Dewey. And here's some picture of Makiguchi and Dewey here. And here's a period. Makiguchi 1879 to 1944, Dewey 1859 to 1952. So we may see that their living period is kind of overlapped. And I think both of them emphasize like empirical education and association between learning and living. They wanted to just connect learning and living together. And Dewey regarded the human living as a foundation, and he has highlighted the process of growth in education. And also Makiguchi, and also insisted how the school system and focused on the connection between learning and living and the lifelong education. And he just proposed the three values of gain, good, and beauty, and value creation. And also I think the concept of growth in Dewey theory is similar to like a value creation in Makiguchi's theory. Now, next slide is like a Makiguchi and Dewey. So let us think about what kind of ideas do they have in the structure, like how they're thinking about the society and school and the children and teacher and the process of education and the process of learning. So the next table, so I will try to just compare Makiguchi and Dewey in terms of their views of society, school, children, teacher, and purpose of education. So from Makiguchi theory, the society is like a society for education, and society has orientation to peace. For Dewey, and society should be the democratic society, and also it is called a progressivism society. And in the view of school, the Makiguchi proposed the half-day school system, and also he emphasized like a local community studies, and also he just focused on the association between living and learning. And the Dewey, he regards the school as the agency connected to society and participation to creation of future society. And also Dewey focused on the education through occupation. And the next, the view of children. So Makiguchi just wanted to foster the intrinsic motivation to learning. And for Dewey, the children's and the education of student centers, and also he had a criticism to obedience to children's desire and interest. And further, as a view of teacher, the Makiguchi Makiguchi said that teachers should apply knowledge as educational materials, and also teachers should show self-growing model for children, and also teachers should snuggling up to child. And for Dewey, the teacher should be the intellectual being for children, and also teacher should be the things and those who are nurturing the next generation through education. And lastly, in the view or purpose of education, the Makiguchi thinks the purpose of education is to the value creation and the children's lifelong happiness. And Dewey is emphasizing that growth and experience and the socialization as a member of democratic society, the purpose of education. And also purpose of education is to improve ability and skills which can produce the next society. So that's the kind of brief comparison between Makiguchi and Dewey. So, so lastly, I would like to close my lecture with the following Makiguchi's quotes. The aim of education is not to transfer knowledge. It is to guide the learning process, to equip the learner with a method of research. It is not the piecemeal merchandising of information. It is not the piecemeal acquisition of the method for learning on one's own. It is the provision of keys to unlock the vault of knowledge, rather than encouraging students to appropriate the intellectual treasures uncovered by others. We should enable them to undertake on their own the process of discovery and invention. So here are the references, and that's all for my lecture. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Tomioka. That was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We really appreciate it. So we're going to transition into our Q&A period now. So I did post in the chat. If you have any questions you'd like to pose, you can put them in the chat, or you can use the raise hand function and we'll call on you, whichever you prefer. So if anyone would like to start us out with questions or comments. I do see a hand raised, but I can't see your name for some reason. Oh, Arden?
Yeah, Ardeen, thank you for the excellent lecture. And I don't know if there are any guests who would like to ask a question. And I might have actually gotten the answer as the lecture sort of continued. I can put the question out there, but if anybody else has anything they want to say, please speak now so that I will gladly wait. The question was that the concept that the only way to become truly human, I'm quoting here, is through education, which then transforms society. Mm-hmm. And so my question, which I think based on the answer that I might have gotten, is that this model is based on the humanity of a child who's being educated versus becoming a product of the state, right? Mm-hmm. I think that would be the answer that I came up with. But my question was, Harriet Tubman changed history. She was contributive to society at large, yet she was illiterate, though she was highly educated on the ways and means of smuggling enslaved people out of the South in America via the underground. And she was really a general without portfolio. I mean, she was highly articulate. I wondered, how does education relate to Harriet Tubman, who was truly human in spite of very little, if any, formal education? And then as I was listening, I thought maybe what we're talking about here in terms of becoming truly human only through education is that the model we're talking about is based on humanity of the humanity of each child being valued versus being educated to become a product for the purpose of the state, for nationalism, or, right? But anyway, that was my question. Thanks.
Thank you for your questions. So I would like to make sure your point about the question. So you were talking about the value creating education is based on the people is going to become truly human through the education, right? And it is kind of like opposite to the and kind of like the children as a product by country or something. So, so what is your question?
I think that I answered my question by listening to more of what you were saying, because initially I thought, well, Harriet Tubman, who was a great leader in the Civil War, leading enslaved people out of enslavement via the Underground Railroad, and a lot of whom ended up in Canada, actually. So that was my question. She's one of the most humane people I can think of, and yet she lacked education. But she was highly educated in other ways, right? She knew where the mines were planted in the rivers, and she could get around them, and she could do all kinds of things, but she had no formal education.
Okay.
So that was kind of my question, but I think that you answered it as I realized you're talking about using a child as a tool for the state, right? Is that was the model, was what value creating. That's how you become a truly human person, is that you are the antithesis of that nationalism. So of course Harriet Tubman was, and anybody is truly human. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on like how we can interpret it in education. That is, education is not kind of limited in only in school education, and it can be like only like non-formal education, you know, like in a home education. And because the Dr. Ikeda and have the some education from Josei Toda, so which the Dr. Ikeda is called the Toda University, like Toda Daigaku. So it is like under a completely kind of informal education from the Josei Toda to Ikeda, you know, but the it doesn't have to be like a kind of formal like a school education.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And Deanne, any question? Thank you.
Yeah, we do have some questions in the chat here.
Okay.
So Dwight asked, could you explain what was meant by the idea of, quote, snuggle up to the student, end quote?
Okay, so let me just see which chat should I look. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. Could you explain what I mean by that? Snuggle up to the student is like just, I don't know how to translate in English. And I was wondering, snuggle up is like a cuddle up with, you know, like just stand under, like being there, be emotional support for a student, and just trying to just stand at the point of children, not like a point of the teachers, you know, like could I just code the Michio-san, Uchida Michio-san? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can hear your voice.
Thank you.
Dr.
How to,
Tomioka.
yeah, so I need your help. So I would like to say, 子供に寄り添うこと
はい。
を英語で言うと何てなりますか？
子供に。ごめんなさいね。パッと出てこないわ。子供に寄り添う。Together.
Together?
Yeah.
To be attached with the children emotionally and supported the children. Like not just guiding from the teacher's point of view, but just standing and with the student, you know, emotionally. So that's what I mean at the end, cuddle up to the student. So do you see what I'm saying? You know. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. There is,
okay.
I'm going to do one more from the chat, and then we'll go to Avita. Okay. We'll kind of do a little bit back and forth in the time window we have here. So in a series on modern intellectuals, number 33 by Kinokuniya, titled For the Happiness of Children in the Life of Mr. Makiguchi, he is quoted as saying, the goal of education is appreciation. Can you expand on his answer, please? That's from so Dennis.
Are you talking about the my slide? Is there evidence? Communicate with each other is nation. Oh, and Amy, so can you explore your question again, please? I'm sorry. Are you?
Yes.
You're talking about the slide?
It was posed by Dennis in the chat. I'm not certain if it came directly from the slide.
Okay, number 33, Modern Intellectual by Kinokuniya, titled Happiness and Vision. Here it's quoted as a communication appreciation.
I bought this. I bought this.
Yeah.
I bought the CD.
Yeah, I know this DVD. Yeah, you already saw this? Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay. He is quoted as saying the goal of education is appreciation. Appreciation. I don't know, it's the gratitude for something, you know. Yeah. So actually, I watched this DVD many times, but I didn't watch this DVD in English, you know. So that's why I don't understand the appreciation meaning. I think one could be like some gratitude, you know, and the other things, I don't know. Do you have any idea?
That's why I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking the question, because it's so broad. I think that it's probably helping a person to become more human and be grateful for life in general, maybe.
Yeah, I think I need to just watch it in English, you know, like because there are some context before and after this and the sentences, you know.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. And any questions or comments so far?
Avita, if you'd like to share your question or your comment, go for it.
Thank you. Okay, good night. So I have a question. I don't know if you'll have the answer, but I'm just kind of like looking for thoughts. I'm currently a student at Guelph-Humber and you know, done high school, done college, and I found a lot of like the learning I've done. It's like a lot of like industry knowledge and learning about the working world in a sense, and looking into the theories by Dewey and Makiguchi and how they're talking about learning should be more, I guess, in my words, I'd say more holistic, and it should be, we should be focused on like, or at least children should be learning about, you know, life and creating value and appreciation. How do you think we can incorporate their theories into the institutions that we learn from?
Are you talking about how can we just apply or incorporate it like the Makiguchi and Dewey's idea into actual, no?
Yeah, so like the institutions, like your educational institutions that's, you know, mandated by government. Because I don't really feel like I've been in school for years and I don't really feel like I've been learning about how to value life and, you know, that kind of thing. I've been learning how to be an employee or just a citizen. Like, so how do you think we can like make a change, I guess, and a fundamental change so we can implement these theories and this way of learning?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think it is kind of very kind of difficult to just incorporate in the very kind of like a concrete steps, you know, because the meaning of value and the meaning of value creation might be kind of different in terms of people, and also might be different in terms of historical and social background, and also that Makiguchi just established this the theory of value in the 100 years ago, approximately, but the historical contexts are different from the 100 years before and present conditions. So we might apply and interpret again about the theory of value creation and incorporate into the actual educational settings in like a school education and other institution. So for example, like a theory of value, the gain, good, and beauty. So maybe there's notion of what is gain, what is good, what is beauty might be different in terms of historical context, right? So we need to be
subjective.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to. There is kind of no absolute standard about the theory and value, you know. So that's why we need to think and consider about what is good and what is gain and what is beauty in our own life. So that's what I think. So did I answer?
I was just saying arigato.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, so we do have time for one more question. So in the chat here, Antonio asked, could you explain more how Soka education relates to global citizen? Thank you.
Okay, how Soka education can be related to global citizenship? So as you see the actually when I just show the some the slide like can I show the slide like the 12 characteristics of Makiguchi's pedagogy. So and I think this is going to be some hint for the Makiguchi's pedagogy Soka education. So which is like this is like education for global citizenship. I think from the Ikeda's lecture in Columbia University, the 3 elements of global citizenship is courage, wisdom, and compassion. So 2 things are kind of like written in the 12 characteristics, and also maybe some the personality traits which are going to be raised through Soka education. So their personality might be some person who has some wisdom and compassion and some courage, and also I think like some comprehension about the different culture and their customs, you know, like, and they can accept like they are not going to deny the different traits of culture and the country, so they can accept very widely the difference, you know, in terms of the culture and customs of religion. So that's I think that's one of the traits which the Soka education just wanted to just raise to the people.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I can explain very well.
No, that's very good. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everybody for all of your questions, and thank you, Dr. Tomioka, for taking the time to answer them. I'm going to hand things over to Olivia Bukidis for some words.
Thank you so much. And a very special thank you, Dr. Tomioka, on behalf of Dr. Paul Sherman, Amy Lesperance, the Soka Education Research Centre on Global Citizenship, and all of our colleagues here this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are. We want to thank you so much for such an informative and insightful talk. The principles and practices of Soka education truly represent the very best of education. And it's been such a pleasure to see the impact that Soka has had on so many of our students and faculty here at the University of Guelph-Humber. And so to hear you speak this evening, not only on the contextual aspect of Soka, but the practical dimensions, offers such valuable insight into how we can not only be guided by the principles and values of Soka, but also the ways in which we can apply these into our lives and really to enhance our ability as educators, as students, as world citizens. And your talk this evening really illuminated the very best of Soka. And so we thank you so very much for such an insightful talk.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Olivia. And to reiterate a lot of what's already been shared, Dr. Tomioka, we just want to thank you again for joining us today. I'd also like to bring everybody's attention to next year's 5th annual SERC-GC special lecture, which will be taking place around the same time of year, and we'll be welcoming another dynamic speaker. So there's definitely going to be more details to follow, so keep an eye out for that. And with that, one final thank you all, and thank you for joining us, and please take care. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Bye.